So my days of nurse education was equally challenging as well. I ended up teaching in the mental health team in the School of Nursing in the Midlands. And to my surprise, well, you shouldn't be surprised, but to my disgust, in fact, I found out that the training program for nurses were very, very Eurocentric. The senior managers were mostly white, most of the teachers were white, and the only people who were from the AME ethnicity were in the mental health team. So I went over and above my duty as a teacher to start and implement 2-3 day training on health and race issues. These are over and above my role as a nurse teacher. I wasn't designed to do that. I wasn't supposed to do that, but I found out there was a big gap, and I decided to try and remedy this shortfall. So I got in touch with a few people in the voluntary sector, and together we organized 2-day training called Health and Race. And we did that for about a couple of years. What was interesting was many of my colleagues, some of them who were BME people themselves, didn't want to know. They kept well out of it. They kept their head down and carried their work for quite a few years. And the feedback from the students were pretty mixed. If you have a group of black Asian students, they were pretty receptive to that. They'd talk about their experience, but at frequent occasions, there were many of the attendants were very, very obstructive, very, very reluctant to accept a different alternative to the training program they've had. They were very obstructive, very passive-aggressive. They didn't want to listen. They didn't want to change their habit. But that does not surprise me, because the nurse training is still very Eurocentric based, because for three things. A, primary education doesn't really address anti-racism or anti-sexism now. Secondary education really doesn't address any of these anti-racist, anti-sexist issues. So these students come into School of Nursing. So they will have these ideas from their school, primary school, secondary school, and of course their wider socialization in society. So when they go into nurse training, there's nothing there about health and race. There's nothing there to challenge their prejudices, their stereotypes, and they come into nurse training and they give a qualification to carry on as normal. So for the nurse teachers do not have that training either. So basically we have a situation that the vicious circle keeps going on and on and on. So the problem therefore is you have a group of people who are trained in very Eurocentric means. So they replicate these on the wards in the clinical area. And the other thing which you keep coming up over and over again, oh, I'm a nurse, I can't be racist. I care for people, I do look after people the same. Where these are very sort of delusional statements, because you cannot be any more or less, because society is structured in that particular way where white is norms and everything else out of that is not. So you have an issue here about the training program itself. So I had quite a lot of hostility from staff and patients, and patients and colleagues and students as well. So they were resistant to having a different view. At one point, I could argue I was probably public enemy number one, because they didn't like that. They didn't like to be challenged. That's from the students, teachers, and the management as well. So in 1988, I decided to do some research on anti-racist, multicultural, and equal opportunities issues in the nursing curriculum. When I put the proposal down to the principal, she had rejected it out of hand. The reason why she rejected it was my proposal was not professional or academically credible. Meaning, if you talk about anti-racism, multicultural issues or equal opportunities, it is not valid, it is not professional, just professionally credible. In fact, when I wrote the proposal, I put quite a lot of research which I've conducted and read about to support my case. They didn't accept that. They didn't even read it. And in the end, I went to my supervisor at another university and explained what's happened, but they are refusing to give me permission to do the research. So a meeting was organized, and the management of the school couldn't argue their case. So in the end, after a delay of 18 months, I was allowed to do the research. By the same token, during that same time, my colleagues who were doing research were very well ahead of their research. So I was delayed for 18 months to conduct my research. And I did that, successfully completed it. And then what I recommended, what I was suggested to recommend to be implemented in the nursing curriculum was not taken up. It was just ignored, and it was not taken seriously. It was as if nothing has happened. I was probably the only one who actually challenged the organisation, and on frequent occasions I wrote papers, had seminars, I held conferences to raise people's awareness of anti-racism, multiculturalism, and it did not work. And I'm afraid I left nurse education in 2008 to venture somewhere else in the health